Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I will present an article written by Benjamin Fulford, Endgame Approaches as $500 billion Rockefeller bribe attempt fails. Reporting on world events once a week these days is like taking still motion pictures of an ongoing train wreck. During the past week, a lot of damage has taken place at an accelerating pace. Revolution, civil war, permanent slavery, or anarchy for Americans and the West could happen as early as October, multiple sources agree. The people supporting revolution, nationalization of the Federal Reserve Board and restoration of democracy in the West are not part of the current establishment. These include people like Colonel Douglas MacGregor and Judge Anna Von Reitz. We have received a handwritten postcard from her and can now confirm she is a genuine human being and not an AI. MacGregor was a longtime supporter of Donald Trump, who now realizes he is not the man to save the USA. People are wrong if they think if we elect him, he will save us, he says. With Congress, the judicial system is compromised, and getting elected president in the current system is meaningless. They are sailing the ship of state into its biggest storm in history. This ruling class in Washington needs to go away. The question is, how do you get rid of them? That's what has to be done. The American people need to understand the two-party system is an illusion. The bankers think we will become happy serfs on their plantations. Those pushing towards civil war are the backers of establishment candidates like Donald Trump and the Obama avatar Joe Biden. Their mudslinging and lawfare against each other is dominating the corporate news cycle. It is now obvious only civil war will resolve the situation unless people wake up to the fact they are all actors working for the KM. A civil war would turn the US into a mega Ukraine and help enslave the American people further. The Khazarian mafia is pushing a series of manufactured emergencies such as a civil war in an attempt to scare people into farm animal-style submission. These emergencies include a new pandemic, climate change, all-out nuclear war and an alien invasion. If none of these forces prevail, then anarchy and social collapse are certain in the US and most of the West. This would be the worst possible alternative. In any case, multiple events show things are quickly coming to a head. The biggest was the failure of a last-ditch attempt by the Rockefellers etc. to stay in power with a $500 billion bribe. Here is how a North America-based CIA source describes the situation. Many deep state people were expecting money from the Rockefellers today, September 1st, but nobody got a penny. They went all around the world to various banks and found out their accounts were either not there or drained of funds. Percent of the money the IRS collects is supposed to go to Rocky's banks, but not anymore. That is the only way right now. The US is barely floating. Very many big boats may sink in the next while. Another huge and underreported event was a split between India and China at the last BRICS meeting over control of the global financial system. A visible sign is Chinese President Xi Jinping not going to his week's G20 meeting in India. The KM has been sucking up to Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi by offering him a cornucopia of promises, including leadership of the KM-controlled G20. The Chinese say the G20 has been replaced by the BRICS 11 and thus there is no point in attending Western-controlled G20 meetings. The Russians agree. That's why their presidential avatar Vladimir Putin will also skip the event. Things are expected to come to a head on September 18th and 19th as the UN General Assembly convenes in a last-minute KM push to use Agenda 2030 to create a totalitarian world government controlled by them. The failure of the Rockefellers' $500 billion bribe attempt means this agenda is almost certainly doomed now. The fact is the UN is a privately owned, unelected organization and most of the so-called leaders attending their events are bribed and blackmailed puppets, Asian secret society sources note. This is why they cut off funding for the UN, the BIS, the IMF, the World Bank and other KM-controlled institutions. The lack of money is flushing out deep state actors who have tried to stay hidden until now. One example is an individual by the name of